closing points, always work out clearly how much money you want. It may be that there are different options, you could grow this way, you could grow that way, but don't turn up making it seem as though you're just after as much money as you can get away with and you don't know what you're going to do with it. For funding, actually this is another important point, what do we want you to use our money for? We want you to use it for growth. If we see that you want to use our money to repay directors' loans, right, which is a common thing people try, we will not invest. And I don't know of any investor who will. If you're using it to fund working capital, we're not so keen. We want to see our money used for product development, service development, and market development. We want to see it used to grow the business. You should be quite clear about the type of deal structure that you want. Are we going to argue about valuation? Yeah, probably. But you don't come in without any idea of what deal you're looking for. If you're dealing with nice people like us, we'll probably try and help you to sort out what it is you're doing. If you're dealing with some of the roughy-tufty end of the market, the big boys, they'll nail you to the floor and bleed you dry. That's their job. Raising money is critical for your business. Approaching it in a professional way is important. Making sure you allocate enough time to it is important. And doing the job right. If you do it right, you'll raise the money, otherwise you'll waste a lot of your time. Thank you.
Very good, thank you for that, that's excellent. Series A, B, C. Do you need that mask and a gun in the UK to get Series A, B, C at the moment?
Yes.
How do you think, how is that ever going to get released? I mean, high-level words are follow-on investing like there's no tomorrow. We are good seed, we can all leave
Yeah.
How on earth is Series A going to release in the UK and start to drive tech from, from where it needs to go into that growth?
I'd like to look to, actually, maybe we should be looking at Frank here and say
Frank's reaction was to say they want to come and work with me to address how we fix this.
what is BIS doing on this? I think that there's a real funding gap. If I think back to, there have been several government reports on how do we bridging our funding gap. I can remember Treasury Report 2002 looking at exactly this thing. There's always a problem there, but business angels, are probably a key to this. I think it's probably worth checking what sort of amount of money you're looking at from 50k.
I'm talking about the 1 million.
1 to 3.
1 to 3. It's that you've gone through your seeds.
Yes.
You've gone through your
the 1 to 3. Yeah.
The 1 to 3, and suddenly you need that expansion capital.
Yes.
Do you think it's a government thing, or do you think it's an LP thing, or GP thing actually?
A GP thing. The real problem at the moment is that the funds are having trouble raising more money. I can't think of any fund that has been able to raise a reasonable sized fund and launch it in the last 3 years.
So Peter, there's a man sitting over there who's going to comment.
Oh, is it?
The Technology Strategy Board.
So just tell everybody who you are.
I'm Nigel Walker. I'm from the Technology Strategy Board. There are a couple of things. In terms of the bulking up on angels, there's the Angel Co-Investment Fund. That's government backed through the regional development. The Regional Growth Fund, so that enables angel syndicates to punch above their weight by getting effectively doubling up their money from government sources. The other key player in the market now is the Business Growth Fund, which is not government money, it's bank money. And that's looking to make equity investments where 3i used to be many years ago. Yeah. And so they're looking at those sorts of figures of established growth businesses, but at an early stage. Of venture capital.
I think what we need to see from the Business Growth Fund is an acceleration of their deal flow, because it has been very slow in getting started.
Half a dozen done so far,
If that.
I thought it was 4. I mean, I know the people in London quite well. Yeah. Andrew, I don't know that I can give you an answer. I think maybe some of the answers coming from the TSB.
Did you read the Kaufman report?
Which one?
The US Kaufman report that just says CC's not working and never will.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's my hypothesis now. I've spent a year literally working with that VC is a broken model, but what we put in its place is problematic. And one of the reasons, this event really came out of the conversations that Frank and others have been having to say, what can we do? Because, and one of the reasons that I'm quite keen to have corporates in this tent, if you like, is because corporates actually are sitting on a lot of cash, and corporates could do with more innovation inputs, etc., and dialogue with SMEs.
Actually, something which I'd really like to see on the VC model is for us to move more to a US business model where VCs invest in companies for their lifetime, rather than investing for a deal, a funding round. European VCs tend to invest looking as though they're buying shares which they can sell at the next opportunity. In the US, they stay with companies and they will say, we'll put in your first $500,000, then your $1 million, then your $5 million, and they'll stay with you for life. And that's a model which really hasn't been adopted in the UK, and I think is a fundamental change that will make a big difference.
Yeah. So two points.
So I was just saying that you mentioned 3i there. The first money that I ever raised was actually through 3i. And I mean, I think that the fact that something like that doesn't exist is actually, I think if you went back to what it was like 20 years ago with 3i, which was, vast number of regional offices, lots of expertise, and an ability to play at every level. I think that's the thing which is actually missing, because it seems to me that actually the real issue is that there's plenty of people at the higher end, and it's the fact that actually 3i was actually quite happy to play at all levels and in all markets and in all regions, and was even able to kind of move things around from regional office to regional office.
Yeah, but I mean, I think you're right. But if you look at 3i was it was about industrial investment, and it had a strategy. I think we are now in the throes of the ideological debate that's not quite got going about the level of national intervention that the government makes versus what the private sector does.
Yeah, but 3i was a successful organisation. What its problem was that it decided that, or its shareholders decided to cash in its chips and go chasing after,
but ask yourself who was the principal shareholder. It was an ideological political decision.
Yeah,
just as the privatisation of all the.
But what I was saying is that surely there is still a way of bringing that together.
There may be, but I think the ideological backdrop internationally makes it very, very hard. Very hard indeed in the current. If you look at.
I would have thought, basically that the banks could be persuaded to do the same things they did before, which is basically,
We should have this debate offline because there is a. Sorry, there's one more here.
I was just wondering, out of the people that you reject, what sort of feedback do you get? And do you see a lot of them come back to you at a later date with a sort of revised plan, or do you just sort of they never come back?
One of the things is VC firms tend to be reluctant to give commentary on why they rejected businesses, because a couple have been sued for that. So we won't tell people what it is that they're doing wrong. One of the things that we know works well is the success rate. If you've had a professional advisor work with you on developing your business plan, your success rate is probably 4 times what it is if you just try and do it on your own.
And that's where the team element comes in as well.
That team may help, but if you actually get a professional corporate finance person to work with you, it would cost you. So you've got that trade-off. You're going to have to pay money for a corporate finance person to work with you to develop your business plan, make sure you're talking to the right people, you're talking about the right sort of deal, but it will increase your chances probably times 4. One of the things we will say to people is, look, go and talk to this corporate finance.
So I know that a number of people wanted to ask questions. Can I, in the interest of time, can I suggest that you talk to Peter later on? He's around. Because we're running now about 40 minutes late. So
sorry, this isn't a question for Peter. This is a generic one. If I just may be ever so brief, we've talked about customers as a source of finance, but we haven't spoken about those suppliers and corporate venturing with potential suppliers. Who
so we in fact, one of the things we've Frank and I have been running some sessions where we've had roundtables, and we've actually published some of that stuff, which looks at all these issues. So I'll send you a link to that.
Right.
Because if you'd like to participate in that dialogue, it'd be really great. Yeah? Okay, so Peter, thank you very much. I knew that after